In today's show, we're looking ahead to week 5 in the NBA. The schedule, streaming, weekly ads, weekly sits, all of that stuff. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_Beeble and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Let's look ahead to week 5 in the NBA, how the schedule plays out, what you can do about that, how that makes sense in weekly leagues and daily changes leagues. It's important to understand how all those things work and what games are on what days and how the differences in schedules manifest. Let's talk about it. Week 5. We've got a pretty busy week. 19 teams play 4 games. So that's the vast majority. It's almost 2/3 of the teams that are playing 4 games this week. It makes the teams that play fewer than that decidedly worse off in terms of start and sit decisions and where their value lies. So 10 teams play 3 games, and unfortunately the San Antonio Spurs, they play just 2 games this week. So it's going to, the value of adding a Devin Vassell is going to be really muted. Your Thad Youngs and your Drew Eubankses, you've got them. Pirtle might return for one of those games. So, having those players on your roster, I think Vassell as a whole, by the way, just through this week, but the value's not really there. But guys like Eubanks, with only 2 games and maybe only 1 start and maybe not even 1 start, I reckon you could move on in that sort of a situation. Maybe Thad, not as cut and dry with Thad as it is with, say, Eubanks. It's going to make it tough for slumping players like Derek White, who's not playing well at all. I still have some faith in White getting better because I don't think that his shooting numbers are going to be this bad. Like, he's 9 percentage point worse from the free throw line. He's shooting 37% from the field and 31 from 3. And even if he's not a good shooter, we expect to be 41-42 from the field, 34-35 from 3, and probably get back over 80. He's still blocking shots, getting assists, and getting steals in higher value. My problem is he's losing confidence. The usage has gone down from last season, which is a huge surprise, down from 22 to 17. And that's not ideal. And the worry there is that he could, and he has at times, starting to lose minutes and not be in closing lineups. That's where the worry comes in. I am still holding Derek White with understanding that those percentages should come up, but there is a real risk of those percentages coming up. But because the confidence has been lost, the minutes go as well. I think that is a real risk with him, just to go on a little bit of a tangent there when talking about the Spurs. In terms of what the games, or who's playing the games this week, the 4-game teams, we're talking Pacers, Clippers, Wolves, Celtics, Magic, Knicks, Bulls, Wizards, Lakers, Warriors, Suns, Nuggets, Thunder, Kings, Pistons, Heat, Raptors, Mavericks, Pelicans. That order that I just read those out in, I should have told you this before, that is in order of easiest to hardest schedule. The 3-game teams, same sort of order. The Rockets play 3. The Bucks, the Hawks, the Grizzlies, the Nets, Jazz, Blazers, Hornets, Cavs, and Sixers all play 3 games this week. Some other schedule anomalies. The Wolves play all 4 of their games at home, as do the Pistons, whereas the Raptors and the Magic are on the road for 4 games. Of the 3-game teams, the Rockets and the Sixers play all 3 of theirs on the road, whereas the Bucks, the Hawks, the Nets, and the Blazers all play their 3 games at home, while the Spurs' 2 games, they are on the road. So not ideal there, but we'll talk more about that Spurs situation in a second. Let's look at how the schedule plays out in terms of a by-day basis. We've got a busy Monday and a busy Wednesday. So 11 games on Monday, 11 games on Wednesday. Very hard to use those days as streaming days, but the others you probably can. Especially a 3-game Tuesday, a 6-game Thursday. 9 on Friday and 9 on Saturday is interesting. Usually, look, 9 is my cutoff. Anything over 9 is really hard to stream. 9 is okay most of the time, and you probably will have at least one active roster spot available. And then 5 on Sunday. So theoretically, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are streaming days for us this week. Forget Wednesday, forget Monday. And that's where the importance of when games are played versus how many games are played for weekly leagues or for daily changes leagues is important. Your Pacers play 4 games. They've got their easiest schedule, except 2 of their 4 games come on Monday and Wednesday. So a player like a Chris Duarte, a TJ McConnell perhaps, the 2 of their games, they might be your 11th or 12th best player. Therefore, you get 2 games out of them for the week. Contrast that with the Clippers, who all 4 of their 4 games are on the low volume days. So a Nick Batum, a Reggie Jackson, Ivica Zubac, Terrence Mann. You have 4 games of Terrence Mann versus maybe 2 games active of Chris Duarte. Now you take the 4 over the 2 there every day. So that's important to be able to note. So the streaming we're looking there is Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with the key streaming days being Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and Friday, Saturday. It's going to be really dependent on how your roster looks. And this, when I give these days saying it's 9 games is an okay streaming day, that is if you're using a standard split, a 10-3 split, 10 active and 3 reserve guys split. That gives you more value, also more ability to have those active roster spots there. If you're in a situation where you have more bench spots available to you, it makes the likelihood of you having active roster spots or active spots available even lower. So the further you go from a 10-3 split, if you go to a 10-5 split, then a 9-game day is probably going to be harder for you to have open roster spots. It's not always the case, and you can't cover everybody that way, but that is a general rule when looking at these things. Prize Picks, I got to tell you about that. That is NBA DFS at its best. Steve S made easy. It has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. More NBA DFS props than any other DFS prop provider, Prize Picks does. And it's not just the superstars, it's the end of the bench guys getting just a few minutes per game as well. Whatever prop you can think of, blocks, assists, points, rebounds, threes, Prize Picks has it. And when you go to sign up, you can use the promo code NBA. You get 100% instant match deposit up to $100. How it works is you pick 2 to 5 players, get their individual props, whatever it is you want, pick the over, pick the under, combine them together, and you can get up to 10 times your entry. And it doesn't just have to be basketball. You can do multi-sport entries as well. So throw a Tom Brady over-under touchdown prop in with a Steph Curry over-under prop together in that one entry and see how you go. Enter via their app, really easy, under 60 seconds to get an entry in, and the withdrawals are safe and fast. So don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com and use the promo code NBA, or go to your app store and download the app today. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. We all know this familiar problem. We watch live sports somewhere. We watch our other shows on another device. We watch our highlights on our phone, and then we use our neighbor's login to get something else. It's all over the place. There's too much hassle. There's too much confusion. I want to tell you about a way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It is called Direct TV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there is no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with Direct TV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required, and content varies by package. Let's look at some streaming options for the week, or how we can go about streaming for the week. As I already mentioned, the Clippers have a great week, 4 games. This is 2 weeks in a row where their streaming schedule has been absolutely elite. They play on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. So you add a fringe Clippers guy, Zubac, Mann, Batum, Jackson. Not that Batum and Jackson are really fringe guys. They should be rostered anyway. Eric Bledsoe. You add him, and you can get 4 games out of them. And the same goes for the Warriors. Now, the Warriors are a little bit harder because they don't have a ton of fringe guys. Poole, Curry, Green, these are all rostered players. Wiggins, rostered players. Maybe you're looking at Gary Payton, as someone messaged me about a name for him, calling him the Doctor. I think it was Mitch, which I love. The Doctor Gary Payton, because apparently he finds the name The Mitten offensive. Sorry, Gaz. Let's go with the Doctor. And if you don't know what the Doctor means, I don't know if you guys call them this in America, but just your general local doctor. Just over here, we call him a GP. for general practitioner. So GP, Gary Payton, the doctor. The doctor, Gary Payton. I really like it. Mitch, if it was you, I apologize if it's not you, but I should have checked that. The doctor, Gary Payton. He's an interesting stream option for them. You're not going to be streaming like a Kuminga or a Moses Moody or anyone like that.
When you look at Moses Moody.
Yeah, they're not the sort of guys you're going to be able to stream in, but maybe a Damian Lee if he gets healthy, Otto Porter, Andre Iguodala, they're probably more for 14-team leagues. But the 4 games is interesting there. And then the Nuggets, Raptors, Jazz, and Sixers all have 3 quality games. Everyone else has either 2 or 1, and the vast majority of the league has 2. So the Nuggets, Raptors, Jazz, and Sixers. So when we're looking at streaming for the week, adding Nuggets players, Jeff Green, the big stiffy, Boner Highland, the Raptors, the big sneeze, Precious Achiuwa, Kem Birch, those guys, the Jazz, Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, Hassan Whiteside, the Sixers, Niang, Korkmaz, Curry. Yeah, you'll see the difference there in the Sixers 3 game, because the Sixers play 3 games, all of them are quality games. Look, that's what's important there. But in a weekly league, their 3 games is nowhere near as important. They become one of the worst teams for the week. So it is a big difference between a daily changes league and a weekly changes league. We look at back-to-backs and how they play out for the week. Tuesday, Thursday. I'm not going to look at the ones including the high volume day, so no Monday, no Wednesday, but Tuesday, Thursday, the pseudo back-to-back. The Clippers, the Warriors, the Jazz, the Sixers, and the Spurs all play Tuesday and then again Thursday. So when you're looking to add players, we'll talk about a streaming plan more in a second. But when you're adding guys, if you add those guys on the Tuesday, you get 2 games for the price of 1 addition. Thursday, Friday, we've got the Clippers, Warriors, Nuggets, and Raptors all playing that Thursday, Friday actual back-to-back. Friday, Saturday, the 2 9-game days in a row, huge back-to-back numbers. Pacers, Magic, Thunder, Kings, Pelicans, Bucks, and Hornets. Yeah, you've got to be careful there, I guess, with the Bucks. If Brook Lopez does return, you'd imagine he sits out one of those. I don't think anyone else Derek Favors will sit out for the Thunder. Not too much else to worry about in terms of sitting back-to-backs. And then Saturday, Sunday, it's the Knicks. So maybe Kemba sits. He hasn't sat every back-to-back, but he will sit some. And so, they're the only team who has that back-to-back on the weekend is the New York Knicks on the Saturday, Sunday. If we look at a streaming plan, so this is trying to get the most out of our ads. Let's assume a standard week has 4 waiver wire acquisitions. Your league might have 7, your league might have 5, you might have 2, I don't know. But a standard is usually 4. So on Monday, there's 11 games on. So we're not really looking, I've got to add someone for the Monday. Now, it's always important to be looking long-term with ads as well, but winning each week, to have your best chance of winning each week, it is about streaming. So if you add a Clippers or a Warriors player, you can add them Monday, because again, you're not going to really have that roster spot available. Add them Monday. You can add them straight after Sunday's game starts if you want. That's what you do. And you get 4 games out of 1 waiver acquisition. So I would be looking to add probably 2 guys there, whether that's 2 Clippers players, maybe it's Bledsoe and Mann, maybe it's Bledsoe and Kennard or whoever it is, and you get 4 games there from that acquisition. Maybe it is, I don't know, who. Maybe it's Kevon Looney in a deep league, Andre Iguodala or Otto Porter or someone like that, or it is the Dr. Gary Payton in a deeper league for the Warriors with those 4 games. Then the second thing I would do is use some of my other waiver ads on Thursday. Right, because Thursday, Friday, Sunday, the Nuggets and the Raptors play 3 games. 3 low-volume days. They're the only 2 teams that in those final 4 days of the week play 3 games that don't include the Clippers and the Warriors, because we've already talked about them. They play the 3 games in 4 days there at the end. So you're looking at Jeff Green, looking at Bones Highland. You're looking at maybe PJ Dozier. You're looking at, I don't even, who else is, not many other guys there. Maybe it's Zeke Naji, but I doubt it. And the Raptors, we talked about those guys already. So theoretically, if you use 2 ads at the start of the week on the Clippers, that's 8 games for 2 waiver moves. And then use your next 2 moves on the Thursday for 2 Nuggets and Raptors guys. That's 4 waiver acquisitions for 14 games. Now, if you think about using your 4 waiver acquisitions just on single game pickups, you get 4 games out of that. I'm going to add someone for Tuesday. Then I'm going to drop that guy. Then I'm going to add, and I'm going to add someone on Thursday. Then I'm going to drop that guy and I'm going to add someone on Friday. That's 4 games you get if you don't plan it out. But if you do plan it out, you get 14 games from those 4 moves. And often it is useful to keep a move for a Sunday just to attack a category, or to have one up your sleeve, to have, in case a hot free agent appears or an injury occurs that opens up value. But if you want the most value out of your waiver moves this week, that's what you do. You could even, if there were enough players, like if you wanted to use 3 waiver moves early on, you could grab 3 Clippers guys, Mann, Bledsoe, Kennard, get 12 moves for 3. If there was 4, you could get 16 moves for 16 games for 4 moves, which is gigantic. But that's probably unlikely. And then you can attack the Nuggets Raptors Thursday if you want. The other way to do it is you can look at getting 2 games from the Tuesday-Thursday combination, which is the Spurs, Jazz, and Sixers, not including those ones I mentioned earlier. So it is a different way of looking at it. And then you get the Friday-Sunday combination, and 18 teams play that Friday, Saturday, Sunday mix. There's 18 teams that play 2 games over those final 3 days. So finding that. Now, obviously, that's not as many good games. It is 4 games for 2 acquisitions, which is nowhere near as good as what we're getting up ahead here. But it is a different way of going about it if you don't have value there in the Clippers or Warriors, Nuggets, and Raptors. But that's the way to go about it. Clippers, Warriors, Nuggets, Raptors, or just literally like 3 Clippers and 1 Warriors guy, something like that. That is how you maximize games for the week ahead. In terms of front and back loading, we have got no games on the weekend for the following 3 teams. The Cavs, the Nets, and the Spurs. They do not play this weekend. Well, they don't play Saturday, Sunday. With the Spurs, I mentioned them before. They've only played 2 games. Both of their games are on low volume days, though. So if you do have your Vassals, or if you were considering dropping Derek White, or you do have Eubanks or Young, you do get them on low volume days, so they are usable. Now, of course, the Youngs and Eubankses might be impacted by Pirtle coming back on Thursday, and then you get 1 good game out of them, but you still get two uses out of them, which is the equivalent of a Wolves player who has 2 quality games out of their 4 games. So that while the 2 games, and it's more important for weekly leagues, the 2 games for the Spurs is not great, the fact that they're on low volume days is actually significantly better than, say, the Hawks, who play 1 game on a low volume day. So bear that in mind. And then to begin the week, the Hornets and the Bucks don't play until Wednesday, so they miss out on that big Monday. They miss out on the Tuesday. You're not going to drop a guy because I don't play those 2 days, but I just thought it was important to mention that. It is also important for me to mention that Built Bar is the new Thanksgiving holiday dessert. Thanksgiving is about family. It's about food, but sometimes it's about high-calorie food. And some of us, we've got to try and watch our weight. We don't want to eat too many calories and blow out our pants. Instead of a slice of pie, which, of course, is delicious, there's also a delicious Built Bar, 300 calories for a slice of pie, if at least. It's got to be way more. Whereas a Built Bar, we're talking 130 calories, low carb, low sugar, low fat, and high protein. And these bars are covered in 100% chocolate. So, bring a box of Built Bars to your Thanksgiving dinner. People might look at you funny. They go, what are you bringing these for? And you go, trust me, guys, this is low calorie, but it's bloody delicious. You're going to love it. So go to the website, built.com. Check out all the flavors. They're going to release great flavors this month as well. There's a pumpkin one out at the moment, cherry lime, which I'm dying to taste. Built Bar, let's go. Go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15, and you can save 15% off of Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. Let's look at weekly leagues now and some players that we can add for the upcoming week. These are guys that I think if they are available and you add them, you will be able to start them this week. I think Patrick Beverley's a must-add regardless, but with 4 games this week, again, in a daily changes league, the Wolves schedule has 2 quality games only, not as good. But in a week league, you've got 4 games, and there's good enough value to start someone like Patrick Beverley. Wasn't a great start to the week for Tony Bradley with the Bulls, but the matchup against the Warriors was horrid. There's going to be no Nikola Vucevic for this week, as he is out with COVID.
It's Big Vucevic.
So I think Bradley's worth grabbing and probably starting with 4 games. You might get 100 minutes out of him for the week. Jay Crowder, we know the risk with him.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
But 4 games is pretty nice. Chimezie Metu, we talked about him a few days ago, saying, I reckon there's a chance he's going to start. He started. He put up good numbers. I think he's an ad. He's definitely a 14-team league ad. And with the Kings playing 4 games this week, I think he has enough value to be a top 120 player for this week at least. Dorian Finney-Smith, we know he's been shithoused most of the season, but things did come together last game, and with 4 games on, there's value there. And don't scoff, but Killian Hayes is the 155th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. The shooting is atrocious. He's one of the worst offensive shooting players I've ever seen. But he's getting massive steals and massive assists. Well, not massive, but pretty bloody good assists. And with 4 games on, with his minutes pushing up, with his 4 games, legit, you might get 10 steals this week. You might get 25 assists. And that, we can talk about how Chris Paul on assists and steals is like a top 12 player. And Ricky Rubio's assists and steals value has tons of value. And obviously he's doing more now. Hayes is doing what those sort of guys, Rubio in the past. Hey, you can always look at Rubio as a last pick, even if he's playing 22 minutes because assists and steals. That's what Hayes is doing. Don't get too excited about it. I'm still not saying that he's a must grab or anything like that. But for this week, with 4 games, and the fact that things are trending up, it's looking okay for him. These are guys to sit for category leagues for the week. All Spurs players. I wouldn't even bother with DeJounte Murray with only 2 games and almost 20 teams playing 4 games. You'll find better options. I know Murray's been killing it, and it's not the wrong decision to start him, but with 2 games, it makes it hard. I think you got to sit someone like Jordan Clarkson if you still got him.
JordanClarkson.
I wouldn't even say he's must roster in, but if you still have him, you sit him. Dylan Brooks with only 3 games, maybe limited coming back from the injury again. We know he sat out with the return from injury management situation. I would sit him this week. I would sit Alperen Şengün. I would sit Kelly Oubre, Joel Embiid, and Jaylen Brown. They probably returned from injury this week, but I wouldn't want to start them in weekly leagues. If we go now to points leagues, some weekly adds, some similar names there with Patrick Beverley, Jay Crowder, and Tony Bradley, and Shemezi Metu. But Darius Bazley's playing at a higher level, 4 games on, makes sense to add him. Lou Dort, similarly, same schedule, of course. And Terrence Mann with the Clippers. We already talked about the benefits of the Clippers' daily changes schedule, but with 4 games on for the week, Terrence Mann has some value in weekly leagues also. And then lastly, for points leagues for the week, we are again sitting Spurs. Again, Murray's the only one who it's close with. I would sit Kemba Walker for the Knicks this week. His production's obviously up and down, and I can't really trust it. They do have 4 games, but there is a back-to-back, so there is a risk he sits one of those. I would sit Clarkson, Rob Covington, Seth Curry with only 3 games, and then, of course, Embiid and Jaylen Brown returning from their absences. Guys, that will do it for today's show. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. If you're on YouTube, give a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Whatever comment you want, just drop it down below. Guys, we're done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.